Welcome back to the Pete and Cole podcast. I'm Pete Burns. Alongside me, Cole Palestina and Damari Simeon, our special guest, star D lineman for the St. Augustine Prep Hermits. Got his varsity letter yesterday at the banquet, so he's alongside us today. Conference championships coming up. Really excited for those. Should be good. Some teams that have been there before, some teams that haven't. So let's just get right into this. First one in the NFC. I think all of us are fans of the NFC teams. None of our teams obviously in it. So Niners versus Eagles. So first off, just talking about pressure on the two quarterbacks. Brock Purdy, obviously, Mr. Irrelevant, became Mr. Relevant. Jalen Hurts, the supposed savior of the Eagles franchise. Let's start with Damari. What are your thoughts on sort of this quarterback matchup?
I feel like both teams are just so stacked on offense and defense. That quarterback is really going to be like the defining position to this game. I feel like Jalen Hurts has really stepped up from last year. I feel like he can lead the Eagles to victory right here.
Yeah. All right, Cole.
I like it. Both rosters are great. It's obviously coming down to the quarterbacks. Brock Purdy is not lost yet, but it's definitely the toughest test of the year. So it should be interesting. I got the Niners winning them. I just think that defense is just so good. And Brock Purdy knows how to play the offense, knows how to keep away from turnovers. Only has, I think, 2 this year. So playing really well.
And you see him, he doesn't turn the ball over, and he makes dangerous throws. You see him thrown across his body all the time. First thing they tell a young quarterback, don't throw across your body. He does that, and he doesn't turn the ball over.
Not scared in the moment.
Speaking of defense for the Eagles defense, this is their first real test since, I got to say, December. They played the Saints, the Giants twice. Not really big tests on the offensive side of the ball. So the Eagles defense, this is their first real test going against McCaffrey, Purdy, Ayuk, Kittle, Debo. That is a stacked offense. Trent Williams at the tackle. Damari, Cole, how do you see the sort of Eagles defense stepping up or not stepping up to this, tremendous challenge that is the Niners offense led by Kyle Shanahan?
The defense, obviously, they're loaded at every position. The D-line, 4 guys have over 10 sacks. Secondary, Slay and Bradbury are great. Gardner Johnson's leading the league in interceptions. I think he might be tied. The defense is good, but those pass catches, anytime they get the ball in their hands, they're going for yards. They got 3 of the top yaks in the league between those 3.
Yeah, the 49ers offense is really good, especially after that trade to acquire McCaffrey. They've been on fire recently.
Undefeated with McCaffrey as a starter.
Yeah. So, you got Deebo Samuel. He can take any catch to the house with his run after catch ability, like you said. Brandon Ayuk is also a young wide receiver, great route running, probably the best route running on the team. O-line is terrific, Trent Williams. It's just really hard to stop that team as a defensive coordinator. It's going to be tough. I think the only thing that might slow them down is how Brock Purdy limits them.
Yeah. So now switching over to the offensive side of the ball for the Eagles and sort of the defensive side of the ball for the Niners. The Eagles O-line, obviously dinged up coming into this into the playoffs. Still one of the best in football, is even dinged up. But looking at their first real test on the D-line in a while, Giants obviously good, but they aren't the best team in the league, which is the Niners, with Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Shire. They just have Shire Al-Shire.
The linebacking course.
That is one heck of a team on the defensive side of the ball, especially the front 7. Crazy. How did the Eagles' offensive line step up, especially with the Niners bringing a lot of zero coverage blitzes recently? Damari. So
the Niners defense.
The Niners defense going against that Eagles offensive line, the front 7 of the Niners, so good. How did the Eagles offensive line step up and sort of?
It'll definitely be tough. Jalen Hurts helps out the O-line a lot by being a mobile quarterback. I feel like the game plan at the beginning, at least, when the Niners bring those blitzes, are going to be quick passes, those screens. You got pass catcher Miles Sanders, Boston Scott. Good Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown can get open underneath. Those slant routes, A.J. Brown just boxed out the corner that's on his back. So I feel like the Eagles have a good chance.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you, Damari. Those slant routes with A.J. Brown, like you were saying, crazy good. See that a lot. He'll just run a slant route, and he's so big that he can box out the defender, and the corner doesn't have a chance.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest test for the Eagles line is going to be stopping Bosa and not letting the pocket collapse so Jones can get out of that pocket. Because once he gets out of there, it just becomes a dual threat. He could throw, run. It just makes him one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's probably the best dual threat quarterback. Like when you talk about both positions, running and passing, if you average them out, he might be the best in the league at that.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Cole. So moving on, talking about quarterbacks. Oh well. First off, let's talk about winners. I got the Niners by 3 or 2 or 1. It's going to be the better game of the two, in my opinion. Close game. Comes down to the last second Robbie Gould field goal. Best kicker in the postseason, probably of all time, and I think he drills it. Amari?
I got the Eagles by 4. I feel like just the difference at quarterback is really just going to be a defining factor for this game. I think the Eagles could maybe – this is probably going to be like a last-second drive for Jalen Hurts to drive down the length of the field to score a touchdown to really put the game away.
Yeah, I think this game's going to come down the wire. I got Niners by 2. I think it's going to be at the end of the game. Brock Purdy's going to have the ball in his hands. He's going to go down the field. Those pass catches are just too good. He's not scared of the moment. He's confident. Plays with a lot of confidence. I think he's ready for this.
You always hear the announcers and the coaches and anybody who's really interacted with him since his Iowa State days saying he's one of the calmest people they've met. You know, that is something big for a quarterback, especially in those big moments. Will he get pressured by people throwing beer from the sidelines and one of the louder stadiums in the NFL? Will he get pressured by that? I do not know. I mean, this is his first big crowd test since probably his Iowa State days playing at Oklahoma Stadium. Or one of those Iowa State. Can he bring back his calm demeanor against a team where he's not at home? He's not against a team that sucks and doesn't have fans in the stadium. Can he bring back his, calm demeanor against 60,000 fans that want to kill him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what starts with that is just him getting out the ball early, because if he doesn't get sacked, he's able to stay in a clean pocket, just get him early throws, keep his confidence up, make him feel like he's ready for this. Just go out from there for the rest of the game. But definitely get the ball in those pass catcher hands early so you can have some confidence in the beginning.
All right, moving on. We're going to start talking about the Bengals-Chiefs game. We'll start with just our winners, and then we'll move on to keys to the game. I've got the Bengals in this one. Burrow owns Burrowhead Stadium. I think that the Bengals win this one, and I don't think it's really close. I think it's going to be a 2-score game. Damari?
Yeah, I feel like the Bengals are going to win this. It really depends of if Patrick Mahomes is fully healthy, even though the Bengals have defeated healthy Patrick Mahomes multiple times. I feel like the Chiefs are just a different team in the playoffs, and we're seeing that so far. I don't think the Bengals secondary can take on a healthy Mahomes, but right now I'll say Bengals. I'll have Bengals winning by 3.
I got the Chiefs winning. I think even, with the hobbled Mahomes, he's still probably the second best quarterback in the league, maybe behind Burrow if you put him when he's not healthy. I mean, he's just still Superman. Played the Jaguars game with a sprained ankle, led them to the win. And I think the Chiefs, they're ready for this. The Bengals, obviously, they've been the last 3 times. Burrow's confident, cocky, cool. He's ready for this. He's not scared of this, just like Purdy. But I just think Mahomes is going to beat this team. They have a lot of motivation coming into this game. He's going to be ready to go. He's going to be firing on all cylinders, and I think the Chiefs are going to win.
So starting off, keys to the game, I think one of the biggest keys, I think we all touched on, is Mahomes is hurt. He sprained his ankle, pretty nasty injury. I think some of the keys with that is keeping Mahomes protected. If he takes another hit like that, he can't play. And then you're going to have Chad Henne in there, and Lord knows the Chiefs can't have that. So if you're a Chiefs offensive coordinator, you need to protect him. Ways to do that? I don't really know. I feel like you can do a lot of quick passes. They got Tony. They got Kelsey. But other than that, I'd say just trust in your offensive line. Trust in Mahomes to make the right decisions. And don't try and make this game where Mahomes has to do it all. Take this one out of Mahomes' hands, which is something we don't say a lot when you're looking at the Chiefs, but take this one out of Mahomes' hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think on the other side team, the Bengals O-line has also showed great improvement from last year when he got pretty much all but killed last year, honestly. But I feel like the Bengals O-line can keep Burrow protected this game. But it will be very tough with our Chiefs passers so far in the playoffs.
Yeah, it was. They did really well against the Bengals with everyone banged up, so that was good for the Bengals line. But I think what the Chiefs have to do is use Pacheco, use Tony, get your ball carriers. I think Tony's the X factor in this game. He's probably their most electric receiver. Get it in his hands. He can make a lot of moves, make people miss. Now I think keeping the tight ends in, I think this becomes a Blake Bell, Noah Gray, and Kelsey game. 13 personnel, keep them in, have extra protection on Mahomes, just make sure that he can stay in the pocket and make throws.
Yeah, I mean, we see a lot of, you don't see a lot of 14 or 13 personnel in the NFL these days. Even here at the Prep, heavy run offense. Even in modern football, you don't see a lot of 14 and 13 personnel. Will Andy Reid pull it out of his bag of tricks? We all know he has it there. I agree with you, though. I can see them going with a lot of tight ends, a lot of keeping Gray, Kelsey, any of the three in to block to keep Mahomes safe, because Pacheco and McKinnon, their two running backs, aren't great blockers. So I'd suggest keeping in the tight ends like we were talking about and having them protect. And they're also quick pass catchers if you can run short 5-10-yard routes.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the short game is probably going to be the main key to victory. In this game, I feel like it's going to be tough to go deep, especially with both O-lines. I feel like the Bengals O-line has an advantage right now because Joe Burrow, like Jalen Hurts, a mobile QB can help the O-line a ton. Well, if Mahomes hurt, it's going to be kind of tough for him, even though he is like a magician sometimes. So the short passing game to stop that pressure from happening is going to help a lot.
Yeah, I agree. So final game predictions, final score predictions, actually, we should say. I got the Bengals winning, like I said, by 2 scores. I say it's by 13. I think the Bengals are good. I think Burrow feels confident against Mahomes. I don't think the Chiefs scare him at this point. I think he is all season, ever since that losing streak in the beginning, his eyes have been set on this Super Bowl. He wants this. You can see they were sad about losing that last one. They're going to come out here. They're going to dominate.
I got the Chiefs winning probably by, I'll say 3. I mean, I just think this team's ready for it. They got a lot of motivation coming to this team. The Bengals have owned them the last 3 times. I think Mahomes, he's going to be able to do it, but I don't think it all comes down to the coaching. I mean, you got Andy Reid versus Zach Taylor. I think Andy Reid's going to be ready to go. Obviously, Zach Taylor did an amazing job turning around this Bengals team, but I think this is the Chiefs' game. They need this. Last 5 games at Arrowhead and only being the Super Bowl twice would be crazy. That would be championship game, so I think they really need this game. I think they're going to get it. Yeah,
like I said earlier, I got the Bengals by 3, mainly because historically the Bengals have been really good at Arrowhead as a away team.
So moving on, obviously we all have our predictions. So, got Damari on the podcast today. Obviously a huge Panthers fan. Was talking about it with him yesterday when it happened. The Panthers got a new coach. Frank Reich, obviously a Philly man, so we all know him very well. Just coached in Indianapolis. New head coach. Steve Wilkes was also interviewing. They were interviewing a few guys. Damari, first thoughts on this hire?
I was surprised that they didn't say of Steve Wilkes, even though I do see the idea by Temper, the Carolina Panthers owner. We need a QB straight up, and Frank Reich is probably the best person that we interviewed so far to develop a QB, because our QB1 for the past 4 seasons has been disappointing to say the least. I feel like Frank Reich, depends who he brings in as like defensive coordinators and offensive coordinators and everything out, but I feel like he could definitely develop a franchise QB. For the defensive side of the ball, I don't know about his defensive background. So we had a top 5 defense last year, the previous season. I want to see if he can continue that, and maybe Scott Fitter, our GM, can bring in finally a safety to help Jeremy Chin out, because Jeremy Chin has been getting destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, the last 3 finalists for the Panthers head coach was Frank Reich, Steve Wilkes, and Kellen Moore. I think the decision goes to Frank Reich. A lot of teams are going offensive coach now, and I think it's a good hire for the Panthers because obviously they're going to be looking to draft a QB maybe you get one. I mean, all these QBs, they need work, from Bryce Young to AR-15. They all need a little bit of work.
Yeah, this
overall.
isn't the 2021 draft class where you've got Trevor Lawrence coming in and he's a perfect fit for the NFL, ready to go. Mac Jones, you can plug him in and play him. These guys need to be developed.
Guys are raw. Levis, he's raw. They all need somebody. I think Frank Wright's the guy to do it. He's one of the best with QBs, QB whisperer. So I think it's a good hire by the Panthers. It's a risky one because Steve Wilkes had the team going. He was a good leader, but
Yeah,
I think it'll pay off in the end.
I mean, you see in the NFL these days, there's 3 types of coaches. There's leaders, there's defensive coaches, offensive coaches, and you can be 2 of the 3. And hopefully Frank Reich can be those 2, leader and offensive coach. But you look at teams like the Lions, and they've got Dan Campbell. He stars as a leader, but in the other categories, he comes up a little bit short. And you see it with the Bears, defensive coach, he's not much of a leader. So, you look around the NFL, and you want both. And hopefully for the Panthers, Frank Reich can move into that leadership role that Steve Wilkes had going so great.
Yeah. My main concern for the Panthers right now is that Steve Fitter is actually the favorite to be head coach. A lot of players rallied around his hire. So I just want to see how Frank Reich takes over the locker room to see if the players rally around him.
All right, final thing, Damari. Fun segment we kind of do here. Obviously you play D-line. That's where you got your varsity letter at. So looking at the NFL, who's your top 5 D-linemen?
Number 1, I would have to go to Chris Jones. He's been dominant this year beyond belief. Number 2, I would say Dexter Lawrence. He's been a force over the middle. At 3, I would say Derek Brown. He's been really good for the Panthers. He did have one bad game versus the Steelers that maybe might put him lower in some people's lists. But at 4, Aaron Donald, because even though he's been injured this season and the Rams hasn't been as good as people had thought, he's still, one of the greatest defensive players of all time, all said and done. At 5, I would go for a wild card. Fletcher Cox has been good this season. Not really expected. They pretty much drafted his replacement this year, so that's a pleasant surprise for the Eagles fans.
Yeah, great list there, Damari. Some wild card D linemen to look out for. And so we're going to wrap up the podcast today. Thanks for joining us, Damari. Good to have you on the podcast. We look forward to having some more special guests later in the future. For now, that's the end of the Pete and Cole podcast. I was Pete, that was Cole, and Damari Simeon.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.